guys, what's up? It's me again, and I'm back with another Wild Beauty episode, a few weeks late. Had a lot going on. My Nana had an emergency and she was in the hospital. And then my great uncle, who I hadn't seen in a while, unexpectedly passed away. So I was dealing with a lot on top of school finals, which I passed this semester, didn't pass with the grade that I had hoped for, but was 0.2 points away from the grade I wanted. So that's great. But anyway, we're going to jump on in. This episode is going to be quite short. I'm not doing makeup today. As you can tell, I kind of already have like a base face done. And it's Wednesday and I just got off work, like still in my work pants because they're comfortable. But it's going to be like a quick episode because y'all are in a uncommitted relationship with me. I'm in an uncommitted relationship with you. Like, I am constantly lying to y'all. But anyway, so this also was sprung on me today because I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw this fucking bird swallow a whole ass fucking femur bone down its throat. It was probably the best deep throat that I have ever seen, ever. I don't think any other animal could do a deep throat like that. That was a whole femur bone, just gluck gluck 9,000. Who needs to call this bird? So today we're going to be talking about the bearded vulture. Never heard of this bird. I learn something new every day. Yeah. And also, to put it in perspective, it wasn't a human femur bone. Also, I'm going to stutter a lot today because my brain's not compatible with my speaking. It hasn't been all day. I haven't been myself all day. So excuse that. But I know for a fact that femur bone was a very, very large prey animal. So, with that being said, this bird is 7.5 to 9.2 feet wingspan. Like, that's a big bird. And it swallowed a femur. I wish I could find the video and put it in here, but I don't think I can do that. And I don't really want to be copyrighted because I have no money to defend myself with a copyright claim. Yeah. Without further ado, we're going to jump in this because I need some caffeine before we start. But anyway, we're going to talk about the lemagire, or bearded vulture. It is a 7.5 to 9 foot wingspan bird. That's a big damn bird, okay? And it was formally described in 1758, so it's been around a long time. And unlike my past two Wild Beauty, this is not a threatened bird, least concerned, not threatened. So not threatened is like a step before vulnerable. So it's just right outside the brackets of conservation efforts, I guess, is how to say it. Like I said, my brain is not computing to my mouth today, so just bear with me. I just wanted to get a video out today for you guys because I've been very, 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 very bad. Yeah, okay, first and foremost, the habitat and the distribution of the bearded vulture spans from the Alps, the Arabian Peninsula, Sudan, the Pyrenees, Zagros Mountains. So it's pretty much a Middle Eastern, Asian, European bird. It's pretty much spread in the mountainous regions over in those areas. It is localized extinction is in Israel since 1981, but young birds have been seen since 2000, 2004. Okay, we also have to talk about the altitude this bird flies at is insane. So the Alps are pretty old, and they're very big. Never been to the Alps, but I've seen pictures, and they're quite large. And I also ran into a couple one time that was prepping for the Alps, and they were hiking a 3-mile loop in my town that isn't necessarily hard, but they were hiking it, I think, 35 times with their full packs on, and they had it packed down with what they were taking, and they were prepping for the Alps. So it must be pretty rigorous, and I'm going to be looking at my computer screen because all these numbers, and I'm going to read verbatim with what I got. It typically lives around or above a tree line, which is often near the tops of the mountains at 2,000 meters or 6,600 feet in Europe. 4,500 meters, 14,800 feet in Africa, and 5,000 meters, 16,000 feet in Central Asia. In the southern Armenia region, it breeds below 3,300 feet, 1,000 meters, if the cliffs permit, and it has been observed living at elevations of 7,500 meters or 24,600 feet in the Himalayas, and has been observed flying at 24,000 feet. I want this bird's lungs. Could you imagine? I'd be an Olympic track star. Speaking of vacationing and holidays, there was this bearded vulture who really wanted to see the United Kingdom, and he went on himself a little holiday in 2016, and it was a rare sighting, and he was just flying in the United Kingdom, just flying, just visiting, just saying, "Hello, mate." Oh, that's Australian accent. I'm not good with accents. Let's not go there. Anyway, he was in Wales and in the West Country. He was just having a nice little holiday, scoping out a nice vacation home, you know. They nicknamed him TiVo, but eventually he went back to the Alps. He was just there on a little holiday. Maybe his wife was giving him a hard time, his little bird wife, and she was like, "You don't raise no kids, you need to get out." And he was just like, "Screw you, Barbara." And this is why I don't have friends. Also, I'm sorry, the bird's name was Vigo. Might as well just call him Virgo. The bearded vulture, unlike other vultures, are not bald. They got full head of hair, and they're cute. They're pretty. I am partial to vultures. I've always really liked vultures. I find vultures, ravens, and crows very fascinating. I'm just weird. Okay, we already know that. This bearded vulture, despite having almost a 9-foot wingspan, it is only 37 to 49 inches long. Like, about that. Somewhere around there. And the females are slightly larger than the males, which is kind of crazy to me. But, you know, they got a small little head, a big old body, and they got a full head of hair. And, oh no, that sucks. Unlike all other vultures also, they're very colorful because of their iron-rich diets. Hold on, I'm gonna try to save this powder. Let's get to the interesting fact with these particular birds that y'all are going to find so interesting. So the bearded vulture, just like other species of vultures, of course, only eat their scavengers. So they're detrivores, correct? They only eat dead things. And while other vultures pretty much eat the meat off the bones and leave the bones, these birds' diet are primarily just bones. 80 to 90% of their diet is bones. So it's a very interesting thing because this is the only species of bird that does this. I also don't really know any other species that just eats bone. I know like species that eat bone and meat, like you know, but this is the only living bird species that does that. So bone is primarily the source of nutrition for adult birds, and of course meat and scraps are primarily the chick's diet, and it makes up a larger amount of the chick's diet, not so much the bone. So this is the video that I saw, and it was this bird consuming a femur, and they consume the size of a lamb femur. But you gotta think, that's like whole. Like they don't chomp it up, like they gotta consume these whole. And I think that goes to kind of lock and seal that birds are the direct descendants. I mean, everything is dinosaurs, but the direct descendants of dinosaurs like velociraptors, T-Rex, and stuff like that. Yeah. They also have learned to drop bones at insane heights so that they're broken into smaller pieces so that they can actually get the bone marrow and the nutritious part out, which is insanely smart to do. I bet you it's crazy to just watch this happen. Like just a bird eating a whole bone femur. I am reading off this just because my contact's messing up, and then I'm also kind of tired, so I'm sorry, but this is important to note. After dropping large bones, the bearded vulture spirals or glides down to inspect them and may repeat the act if the bone is not sufficiently cracked, and it takes 7 years for immature baby birds to master this skill. During breeding season, they only feed on carrion, which is another word for meat. So they're not doing much of eating bones. They're getting their protein in during breeding season, which you're gonna need it. You're gonna need more energy during that. The old name is ossifrage, which is a bone breaker and relates to their habitat of the Alps. Sometimes these birds also will attack live prey greater than any other vulture species. So I found that very interesting because vultures pretty much only scavenge. They're not very predatorial animals. They're known to prey on poor tortoises and pretty much consume them the way they consume bone, and they drop them from insane heights and watch their shells crack. How awful! And they've also been observed to do this with mammals as well, to kill them and consume their bones and meat. This bird is really savage. They've also been known to pick up ibex, which, if you don't know what an ibex is, it's a mountain goat with big old horns that lives in the mountainous regions of the Alps, Sudan, and Iran. Like, there's different species out there. Some are more endangered than the others, but that's typically what they are. They've been throwing them from the cliffs. These vultures are savages. And last savage thing that I have come across with these vultures, sorry, there's too much blush on my cheek, is that they have done this to humans. It was said that they've never saw this happen with their own eyes, but it has been talked about where these birds have tried and successfully knocked humans off of cliffs, mountains, I guess hikers, to their death and to feed on them. That's nice. I'm glad we don't have those here in Tennessee. We're gonna move on to the love making of these birds. Their territory is huge, first and foremost. It's 0.77 square miles of foraging each day. And they breed in beginning of September through, December through September in Eurasia. And these birds are also known to hunt together. They're linking up, they're having dates, they're killing humans, they're dropping tortoises, they're eating bones. Now, okay. We went from critically endangered animals to serial killer birds. These birds have been reported polymorphous, which is rare, but most of the time they're monogamous. I can't pronounce for shit, sorry. They're monogamous with each other and they care for their young with each other. So very hands-on parental style. Go bearded vultures. The nest they build is 3x3. That's big. Daddy vulture be building mama vulture a house. And Eurasia breeding is different from the other places where they breed. And yeah, it's just a whole list of different breeding cycles with them in different locations of where they live. And I'm sure temperature, time, and all of that goes into play like everywhere else. Very few cases of where Papa vulture wants different mama vultures. Maybe mama vulture goes savage on the ones that try to get daddy vulture. I see that happening. Like if I was a daddy vulture, a daddy bearded vulture, I would not be trying to have multiple women, especially since they just drop you. Like, could you imagine? Anyway, they build their nest on cliffs, so their children are popped out rock climbers. And they typically have 2 eggs, but 3 have been recorded, but it's rare because we don't need 3 kids. Learn from animals. 3's a crowd. I'm just kidding about that. But 3 is a crowd for them. So they typically only have 2 babies. And where they like dust bath and stuff, it coats their eggs a certain color. So the eggs kind of blend in. These birds are very interesting. Very interesting birds. Some of the threats that they are facing, just like pretty much every other animal on the world, is habitat destruction, and their breeding range has drastically declined, which is really sad. I don't know when people are going to wake up and just look outside and see that everything's changing. But it'll be too late when someone does. We can't continue to live like this, but that's another argument, and we're not going to get in that. We're going to raise awareness for these killer birds, killer vultures. They've been largely wiped out in Europe, and if you look at the map of the densities, it's mostly Eurasia and Middle Eastern and Upper Africa. Which is so sad. They have successfully been reintroduced into the Swiss and Italian apps, but they have been wiped out pretty much in Europe. Pretty much. So sad. The species is most common to be seen in Ethiopia. So, at least Ethiopia sounds like they're doing something right. The conservation plans includes a South African biodiversity management plan that has been raffled by the government. Like they're going to do something. The declines of bearded vulture populations have been documented through the range, resulting from decrease in habitational space, fatal collisions with energy infrastructure, reduced food availability, and poisons left out for carnivores, and direct persecution in the form of trophy hunting. I'm sorry, I am on board with hunting if you need food. Trophy hunting, I can never get on board with unless there's like an overpopulation and you need to do some management in those populations. Trophy hunting shouldn't even be a thing. How is that a thing? To me, that's weird. Hunting for your family and hunting for food, fine. Trophy hunting and you're not eating it, that's weird. It's why the Native Americans told us not to overhunt the bison, and look what it got in America. Last but not least, the reintroduction in the Alps began in the 1970s in the French Alps with zoologist Paul Gaudet and Gilbert Amigues, not going to pronounce his name, attempted to release the vultures that had been captured in Afghanistan, but this approach proved unsuccessful because it was too difficult to capture the vultures in the first place, and too many died in transport on their way to France. So that really helped any efforts, which I know that they were trying. So they did a second attempt in the 80s in 1987 called Hacking, in which young adults, 90 to 100 days, were from zoological parks, would be taken from the nest, placed in protected area, and they were hand fed by humans and taught how to fly. And this was super successful, and in 1987 to 2015, it has reestablished itself in the Alps with over 200 birds released in the French Alps. So, and we hope that this bird don't go extinct with its savage ways. Yep. So that concludes this video, and I just need to put some mascara on for the ending. Look, the cats have joined. I think they rotated since beginning this. I'm sorry if this was kind of boring to watch. Sorry, not sorry. I just can't talk. That's my problem. I also can't remember for shit, so I have like fucking notes in front of me because I have such a bad time. We love ADD. It's the best thing ever. But anyway, be like a bearded vulture and do some takedown moves tonight. Eat some bones. Watch that video if you can find it on TikTok or Instagram Reels. I think I saw mine on Facebook Reels, whatever those are. My neighbors are going... I don't know what's going on with my neighbors, but it's not good. I'll see y'all later. Bye.